I mean, we haven't done very well. I think less than 5% of the total share of petrol stations out there
are black-owned, basically.
Owners, And it's not just the government. Even with banks, there's the same challenge. I think there's also a lot of misconception about what the industry is about in terms of, what it means to be a petrol station owner.
Another episode of Brollcast and Beyond the Boardroom, where we take ourselves outside of Broll, auctions and sales, and we look at broader issues and things having a knock-on effect and affecting the South African man in the street. Today we're going to be unlocking or unpacking the lack of transformation in the commercial real estate sector with a special focus on fuel station ownership. And joining us today, we've got Thendo Thenga, our fuel station and retail specialist, also wannabe pilot and ex-maths teacher. He's our guy on the ground. He's there dealing with everyone, buyers and sellers within the space. And we're going to call on you for your expertise today, Thendo, in terms of solving the issues of the lack of transformation. So let's start with an overview, perhaps, of where the sector is currently in terms of actual transformation post-apartheid.
Right. I mean, we haven't done very well. I think most like other industries, not just the fuel retail space, transformation really hasn't really kicked off the way that we expected it to. I mean, 30 years,
later.
Specifically in the fuel retail, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think less than 5% of the total share of petrol stations out there are, transformed.
Or black-owned, basically.
Owners, and out of that share, I think 3% or even less is female. Sure. So we still have a long way to go. It's all good and well on paper, but we still have a lot of work to do. But I also think that it's. I think what I'm finding is that there seems to be a lot of silos. Okay. So the government will have its own set of area. Okay. And corporate will have their own objectives. And maybe even individuals, etc., that want to come to the space. So, I'll give you an example, for example. So you might be a BE person wanting to buy a petrol station. You need funding. Okay. The funding's there, but it doesn't coincide with the timelines that the oil core might have in terms of, the whole onboarding process. So on the other hand, government say we've got money to fund you. On the other hand, but you're taking 3 months and the process is only 8 weeks.
So the two are actually not speaking to each other or facilitating each other.
Absolutely, and I actually have right now. Actually, one of the along the circles in the space, they called me. They said, "Look, have this." I don't know if I should be saying names, but I'm gonna say one of them fund. They've got cash for me, but it's taking long. But they've kind of pre-approved me, and I have this opportunity. It's in an auction platform. And it's I managed to raise my hand up and I got the property, but I'm unable to follow through because it's not coming together, Okay. Yeah, there is just...
So those are some of the challenges that obviously the purchasers are finding in terms of funding and investment.
Yes.
What do you think of those sort of systemic barriers that, around young aspiring entrepreneurs not coming into this space?
Yes.
What are the barriers that they're facing, apart from obviously what you've just stated? Is this something that we need to be raising awareness at a grassroots level at school, saying this is an actual option, that you can actually specialize in this sphere? What do you think the barriers are?
Yeah, I think that is a very good question, because if you go online right now and you type in Eskom Energy, BP, Total, you'll find that it's quite hard to penetrate, to get into. It's not as user client centric friendly as to how do I get into the space. There's a lot of people who want to, and I think this is one of the things that the big players in the market are actually realizing, that they need to be a lot more malleable in how they can attract people into the space.
Are the big players like a big barrier to entry? Going up against the likes of a BP or Sasol or Shell. These are well-established global corporations. That operate internationally. Yes. So now you've got some kid out of school who wants to generate wealth and thinks that this could be an avenue. How does he get there? How does he compete without having to go and buy a franchise through one of the big players? Independently, how would he or she achieve this?
I mean, the reality of it all is that there's a big market share is actually owned by the oil cos. In fact, they I would say that they pretty much run the top 5. They run the whole market.
The whole market.
The whole market. So I don't think there's business without them, because you might be a property owner, yes, but South Africans love brands.
Yes.
You might be a property owner owning a service station, it's yours, but you'd want a Fresh Stop or Woolies or a Spa or OK, and those are the drivers that actually drive volume. And
so the anchor tenant is basically your retail space.
Yeah. So I don't think one could separate, the other, just because they own so much of the, of the market. I'm not sure I'm answering you. So basically, obviously, a lot of it is, there's the Dodo sites, which is basically I own the property and I can retail.
Yeah.
There's a big enough portion of that, but the bigger portion is actually all company owns majority of what's available, and then they bring franchises. In fact, a lot of the BEE activities actually around that area. And you also have to look at price. Also look at purchase prices.
Price is key for everything. I think it doesn't matter what sector you're in. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the average Dodo sites, the property sites, I would say would probably go at about at least 15 million.
Yeah.
And if you look at the big chunk of BE personnel in that space, don't actually have that cash.
Yeah.
Those that do are mostly, I'm going to call them conglomerates, for lack of a better word. So you might have one guy who, he's well connected, and he wants to buy a big group, and that isn't really transforming the sector.
No, of course not.
So to take it back, I think there really needs to be an intentional, awareness and getting guys to participate. I think there's also a lot of misconception about what the industry is about, in terms of what it means to be a petrol station owner. Okay, I think there's a lot of, you need to also distinguish yourself. Am I an investor?
Yeah.
Which means I buy property and or am I an operator who owns property also? So there's also segments that one who has to kind of filter.
Okay.
Because I think, and that goes to what I'm saying about misconceptions about what the industry is about. And if I'm looking at an opportunity as an investor and as an operator, point 2 is very different from my point 2. That could be millions of rands, or that could be 100,000 or 5,000. So I think there is definitely misconceptions there that I think people need to be aware of before they jump.
What do you think that the lack of attractiveness for women, especially within this industry, is? Is it purely because we perceive it to be like male-dominated?
Right.
Is it hard for women to sort of break into, or any harder for women to break into the sector than it is for men?
I think that is more of a global. It's more of a global problem, challenge. It's more of a historic challenge. I mean, I think just because. Just like any other industry, women just haven't been able to penetrate. Never mind getting to women. Let's just take average black male getting into the
black
industry.
ownership.
It's just been a barrier. I think that is not just limited or directed to the fuel retail space, but more broadly.
Okay, so if we still have these barriers because nobody's really addressing them, it's kind of like this. Okay, well we'll get to it.
Yes.
What sort of policies and procedures do you think government should be putting in place to actually drive transformation? They've done it successfully in other sectors and other industries. Why is this one just kind of like swept under the carpet?
I will give government. I think we don't credit government enough. And unfortunately, yes, there are a lot of wrong and a lot of areas that government is still behind on. But I also think that there's a lot that government has done. But I think the biggest, like I've said, the biggest challenge I've seen is that there isn't really a seamless working flow. Like I've mentioned, for example, government will say, okay, we have certain institutions that want to let people participate in this space, but it isn't really communicating with the people, the kind of the other segments that can make that possible.
Yeah.
You know, for example, the oil coast, the big oil coast, for example, and they have tried themselves. I think that is the biggest challenge. You know, just having those things, and I guess, like I'm saying, I don't think it's also specific to the industry. Many different other industries. You know, we all have good intentions, but you know, it's just bringing it together such that we can actually work together.
Almost need a conductor to sort of like, you know, get the whole orchestra flowing together seamlessly and beautifully, and working in synchronization. 100%,
and it's not just the government. Even with banks, you know, there's the same challenge. You know, for example, you want to buy a commercial property, and it's taking them a certain amount of time to be able to do that, to do that they need to offer you funding.
Yeah, and if they actually offer you the funding, you know, in the first place, I think that's a struggle that we're all facing at the moment with the economic outlook, is that the banks are only lending up to like 60%, which makes it a challenge. You know, if you don't have all that cash behind you, then purchasing commercial real estate it's quite a challenge.
I must say, however, that I also I've seen there are banking institutions that are actually very keen to take on such, you know, but they also need support. You know,
of course,
they're very keen to grow their book. They're very keen to fund PE guys, but you know, they are only a part of, you know, the chain. Yeah, the chain. Yes, they also need other parties to buy into that and other people to play to make this possible. You know, so. Yeah, and I'm certain that there are banks that are very keen. And I think it's part of the role as us in this space, like Tech Bro, to make sure that we maximize on some other low-hanging fruits and building systems over and above property, because you know business always filters through, right? So you might come for me for specific you know, of something property that you want exactly. But there's other things that, you know, that can come out of that. You know, you might want leasing, or you might want property management, or you might want finance. You know, by virtue of a banking institution giving you finance, they might get transactional services from that and get other things. So, and I think there are other, you know, there are other areas that, as a Bro, for example, that we could probably tap into, which is maybe not our core business, but it forms part of the overall core business.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
I 100% agree with working. You know, we have all these great experts within their fields, and we really have great access to good talent, top people within the real estate space. You know, and we need to leverage our network. That's ultimately the space. We are about connecting people and property, and you know, we've got a massive network that enables that. So that's something we need to focus on. How important do you think mentorships in terms of bringing the youth up, you know, the future generation, into making this an appealing industry for them to break into?